My sister stole my engagement ring, then announced her engagement using it. Guess some girls just get what they deserve, she sneered. My fiancé laughed and K-ssed her in front of everyone. But at that moment, his mother walked in and said, "That's not the ring we gave you." My name's Callie Breyer. I'm 36, a nurse practitioner in Roanoke, Virginia. I have a quiet little life, or I used to. I work long hours, come home to my fixer-upper bungalow, cook dinner while listening to old rock records, and fall asleep watching reruns of Frasier. Not exactly headline material, right? But that all changed the day my sister stole my engagement ring. Well, I guess it started a little before that. I just didn't see the cracks forming. I was engaged to Damon Griggs, a guy I met 5 years ago at a charity gala. He was one of those people who could walk into a room and make everyone turn their head, not because he was the best looking, but because he knew he was. He worked in marketing, of course. All charm and polished shoes. Our relationship wasn't fireworks and grand gestures. It was steady, comfortable. At least that's how I saw it. We'd settled into this rhythm, you know? I'd work the day shift at the clinic, he'd come home late from meetings, and on weekends, we'd split a bottle of wine on the porch. He talked about wanting kids someday. I believed him. Then came Talia. Talia's my younger sister by 3 years. If you grew up with a sibling who was always the center of attention, you know exactly what that's like. She was the golden child, the one with the dimples and the big eyes, who could lie straight to your face and still get away with it because she's just so sweet. She was also a mess. Jobs never lasted. Relationships even less. But somehow, people always took her side. Always. So when she showed up in Roanoke one weekend, saying she needed a break from Richmond, I didn't think much of it. "Just a few days," she said. "I'll crash on the couch." Damon was weirdly fine with it. Too fine in hindsight. The first night, I came home late after a long shift. The house smelled like garlic and wine. Talia was in the kitchen wearing one of my sweaters, barefoot, laughing at something Damon said as he stirred pasta sauce. I stood there for a second, keys still in my hand, watching them. Damon glanced up. "Hey, babe," he said. "Hope you're hungry." I smiled, but something didn't sit right. Talia poured me a glass of red and grinned like we were all best friends. "You gotta let Damon cook more often," she said, nudging him. "He's kind of amazing." "Yeah," I muttered. "I know." I tried to brush it off. Maybe they were just being friendly. Damon was always charming. And Talia. Well, she could turn on the sparkle when she wanted something. But the tension kept building. She stayed longer than a weekend. Claimed her lease was up and she hadn't found a new place yet. She helped around the house, sure, but it felt performative, like she was auditioning for something I didn't know about. And Damon. He changed. Subtly, but it was there. He started going to bed later, staying up to watch movies with Talia. They had inside jokes. Whispered conversations. I'd walk into the room and they'd go quiet. Once, I heard her laugh from the bedroom when I was coming in from the yard. Damon was there too. I asked him about it. "Why is she always around you?" I said one night. We were doing dishes. He didn't look at me. "She's your sister, Cal. She's just being friendly. She flirts with you." He raised an eyebrow. "You're imagining things." "I'm not blind." He sighed and handed me a plate to dry. "You're being paranoid." I let it go. I didn't want to fight. But deep down, I knew something was off. A week later, my engagement ring went missing. I'd only had it a few months. Damon had proposed in January with a beautiful rose gold ring that had belonged to his grandmother. It wasn't flashy, but it was unique. A cushion-cut diamond surrounded by tiny emeralds. I took it off every night and placed it in a little dish on my dresser. That morning, it wasn't there. I searched everywhere. Under the bed, in the sheets, behind the dresser. Nothing. I asked Damon. He barely looked up from his phone. "Maybe you misplaced it. I always put it in the same place." "Well, maybe this time you didn't." I felt the heat rise in my chest. "I'm not stupid, Damon." "Jesus, I didn't say you were." "Calm down." I asked Talia that afternoon. She was lounging on the porch, painting her toenails like she had all the time in the world. "Hey, have you seen my ring?" She looked up, squinted at me. "Your engagement ring?" "Yeah. It's gone." She shook her head, lips pursed. "Nope. Why would I?" I stared at her. "I didn't say you did. I asked if you saw it." She went back to her toes. "Sounds like you need to be more careful with your stuff." I walked away before I said something I couldn't take back. Days passed. The ring didn't turn up. Damon acted like it wasn't a big deal. I started questioning myself. Maybe I had misplaced it. Maybe it slipped off somewhere. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Something wasn't right. Then came the party. Talia invited us to Richmond for the weekend and said she had a surprise. "It's big," she said. "You're gonna freak out." I didn't want to go. I had a stomach ache that won't go away. But Damon insisted. She's your sister, he said. You should support her. Support her. Right. The party was at a rooftop bar downtown. One of those places with overpriced cocktails and neon signs in cursive that say things like, good vibes only. The place was packed. Talia flitted around in a white dress, glowing like she'd just walked out of a bridal magazine. Damon stuck close to her, his hand on her back a little too often. I tried not to spiral. I ordered a drink, chatted with a coworker of hers I barely knew, and counted down the minutes until I could leave. Then she clicked her glass. Can I get everyone's attention? The chatter died down. People turned. I looked at her, and that sick feeling in my stomach turned to concrete. She held up her left hand. There it was. My ring. The exact one. The rose gold, the emeralds, the cushion-cut center. I froze. I couldn't breathe. Talia beamed. I said I had a surprise. Damon and I are engaged. The room erupted in cheers. Someone popped a bottle of champagne. I stared at Damon. He smiled. Then he turned to her and kissed her. Full on. In front of everyone. I felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. Talia looked right at me smirking. Guess some girls just get what they deserve, she said. My hands were shaking. I walked toward them. My voice came out hollow. That's my ring. Damon blinked. What? That's my F-King ring, Damon. People were watching now. Phones out. Whispering. Talia's smile didn't falter. Oh, you mean the one you lost? I stared at her. You stole it. Damon stepped forward. Callie, this isn't the time. The hell it isn't. And then, like a movie scene, his mother walked in. She was holding a gift bag, clearly just arriving. She heard enough to piece it together. She looked at the ring. Look at me. Then at Damon. That's not the ring we gave you, she said, her voice cold. Everything stopped. The silence after his mother spoke was like someone had hit the mute button on the entire room. Even the people recording had stopped mid-tap. Damon looked like he'd just swallowed a nail. Talia blinked at his mom like she didn't understand the language. What do you mean? She asked, her voice just a touch too innocent. Damon's mom, Marla, stepped forward, her eyes locked on the ring like it was some kind of cursed object. I mean, she said, that ring is not from our family. That's not the heirloom I gave Damon to propose with. She turned to me then. Callie, did he ever give you the family ring? My throat was tight. He said this one, I pointed to the ring on Talia's finger, was his grandmother's. He gave it to me in January. Marla's mouth dropped open slightly. That ring is not even real. It's a custom piece Damon had made last year. The real ring was in our safety deposit box. He picked it up 2 weeks ago. I couldn't even speak. Talia's hand trembled slightly. Wait, what? Damon, what is she talking about? Damon's jaw was clenched. I watched him try to think of something, anything to say. She doesn't know what she's talking about, he muttered. She's confused. I am not confused, Marla snapped. You told me you were giving the heirloom ring to Callie. You said you already proposed. I did, he barked. I proposed to her, Things changed. Yeah, I said, my voice flat. They changed right around the time my ring disappeared and Talia started sleeping in your bed. That made heads turn again. Talia stepped back, like I'd slapped her. That's not true. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You want to go there, Talia? You want to act like this is just one big coincidence? I lived with you. I saw it happening. I felt it happening. And I still gave you the benefit of the doubt, because you're my sister. She crossed her arms. You were never there for him. You're always working. You treated him like a roommate. And you treated him like a backup plan, I shot back. You knew what he meant to me. You knew he gave me that ring. But you couldn't help yourself. People were shifting now, murmuring, watching the fight unfold like it was a bad car accident. Damon reached for Talia's arm. We're not doing this here, he said through gritted teeth. Let's go. Oh no, I said, stepping in front of them. You're not walking out of here without telling the truth. Marla stepped in again, eyes sharp as broken glass. You lied to me, Damon. You took the real ring and didn't even give it to Callie. So where is it? He didn't answer. Where is the family ring, Damon? She repeated louder this time. Talia looked at him now, her eyes suddenly wide. Wait, you told me this was the heirloom. I smiled cold. Yeah, that's what he does. He tells everyone what they want to hear. Talia turned on him. So you lied to me too? Damon looked like he might bolt. It wasn't like that. Oh, it wasn't, she hissed. Because you made me look like an unholy in front of your whole damn family. Maybe don't wear stolen jewelry to your fake engagement party, I muttered. That got a laugh from someone behind me. Talia's cheeks turned red. She shoved Damon hard in the chest. You're such a piece of crap. He stumbled back, caught himself, and then turned to me. You know what, Callie? You're not innocent in this either. You always thought you were better than her. Thank you. You always had to have control. Control, I said, nearly laughing. I was working overtime to keep us afloat while you were screwing my sister behind my back. Talia's mouth twisted. Oh please, you act like he was a prize. He's a washed-up marketing guy with a beer belly and a god complex. Damon snapped. You're the one who begged me to leave her. You said you loved me. I never said that. Another gasp. Another stunned silence. And that was the final crack. Talia looked like she'd been punched. Her mouth opened, then closed. Her mascara was smudging from the tears she was suddenly trying not to let fall. You don't love me, she said, her voice breaking. Damon looked at the floor. I don't even know what I want anymore, he mumbled. And in that moment, I felt nothing for him. Not hate. Not sadness. Just an overwhelming sense of relief that I was no longer tethered to this mess. Talia, on the other hand, turned to me, her eyes blazing. This is all your fault, she hissed. I raised an eyebrow. How do you figure that? If you had just taken care of him. If you'd just been there. You're blaming me for your affair? You left the door wide open, she said. I just walked through it. That hit harder than I expected. You always do, I said quietly. She blinked. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've spent your entire life walking into places you don't belong and then acting like you deserve to be there. Like the world owes you something. You think you're the victim here? You stole from me. You lied to me. And you let me stand there, humiliated, in front of everyone, wearing my ring, and acted like you won. Talia stared at me. For a second, I thought she might apologize. She didn't. She just looked at Damon, her voice hollow now. Give me the real ring. He shook his head slowly. I don't have it anymore. What do you mean you don't have it? I pawned it, he muttered. Dead silence again. You pawned your grandmother's engagement ring? Marla's voice went razor sharp. For what? Damon didn't answer. Talia stepped back like she'd touched fire. You absolute piece of trash. Marla turned to me. Callie, I am so sorry. You didn't deserve any of this. I nodded. But I didn't say anything. Because honestly, I didn't need an apology. I didn't need closure. What I needed was to get out of that place before I did something I'd regret. I turned, walked past the stunned crowd, and hit the elevator button with a shaky hand. And I left them standing there. The elevator doors closed behind me with a soft mechanical sigh, and it wasn't until I saw my own reflection in the mirrored wall that I realized I was shaking. My fingers were clenched into fists, so tight my knuckles had turned white. The hum of the elevator filled the silence until it dinged at the lobby. I stepped out, heels clicking too loudly on the marble floor, and walked straight past the concierge, who gave me a curious glance and I didn't return. Outside, the city buzzed like nothing had happened. People walking their dogs, sipping drinks on patios, laughing under string lights. I stood there on the curb for a second, just breathing. My phone buzzed in my purse, once then twice. I didn't have to look to know who it was. I flagged a rideshare and slid into the back seat without checking my notifications. Where to, the driver asked. I gave him my hotel and stared out the window the entire ride. The world blurred by in streaks of gold and gray. Back in the hotel room, I collapsed onto the bed without bothering to take off my makeup. My phone was still buzzing every few minutes. A text from Damon. A missed call from Talia. Another one from my mom. I let it all pile up in silence. At some point, I must have dozed off because when I opened my eyes again it was past midnight. My throat was dry, and I sat up slowly, feeling like I'd aged 10 years in a matter of hours. I checked my phone. 13 new messages. I opened the one from my mom first. Callie, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry. Please call me when you can. Then Talia, you made a huge scene. You didn't have to embarrass me like that. We can talk if you stop being dramatic. That one made me laugh. Out loud. A short, bitter bark of disbelief. Then Damon, I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I messed up. I know that. But I need you to understand, Talia didn't force me. I didn't think you wanted me anymore. That last line stuck in my head. Didn't think I wanted him. As if all the nights I cooked dinner for him, folded his laundry, stayed up waiting for him to come home, didn't count. I dropped the phone on the nightstand and stared at the ceiling. The hum of the AC filled the silence. Somewhere in the next room, a couple laughed. It sounded like a scene from another life. The next morning, I met my mom at a quiet little diner down the street. She looked like she hadn't slept either, hair pinned up in a messy twist, dark circles under her eyes. She stood as I walked in and pulled me into a hug that lingered longer than usual. We didn't speak until the waitress had poured us both coffee. I don't even know where to start, she said finally. I stirred sugar into my cup without looking at her. Start anywhere, she sighed. I didn't know about them. I swear to you, Callie, if I had known, I believe you. She blinked. You do. I nodded. Talia's always been good at hiding things. She looked down at her coffee. She's always wanted what you have. I don't know if it's jealousy or just her way of feeling validated. But she's never been able to let you have something without wanting a piece of it herself. She didn't want a piece of it, I said. She wanted all of it. We sat in silence for a moment, the clink of silverware and soft chatter of other diners filling the air. She texted me this morning, my mom said. Said you humiliated her. I smirked. She humiliated herself. She's a mess, Callie. Always has been. And yet she always finds a way to make it my fault. She's my daughter too. I know, I said quietly. But she's not my problem anymore. My mom reached across the table, took my hand. You didn't deserve any of this. No, I said. But I survived it. Later that afternoon, I got a message from Nora, Damon's older sister. We'd always gotten along, mostly through family events and the occasional Facebook comment thread. She asked if I could meet her for a quick coffee before I left Richmond. We met at a cafe near the river. Nora looked tense, her usually vibrant energy dimmed. I won't take up much of your time, she said, sitting down. But I needed to see you face to face. Okay. She folded her hands on the table. I'm not speaking to Damon. Not after what he did. And for what it's worth, I never liked how close he was getting with Talia. It made my skin crawl. Same. I just want you to know, she went on, that my family is furious with him. My mom especially. That heirloom ring? It's been passed down for 3 generations. He pawned it like it meant nothing. Why? I asked. Do you know what he needed the money for? Nora nodded slowly. He was in debt. His last 2 campaigns flopped, and he borrowed money from the wrong people. He didn't want anyone to know. So instead of asking for help, he pawned the ring, stole mine, and lied to both of us. Yup, she said, sipping her coffee. Classic Damon. Polished on the outside, a disaster underneath. I exhaled, feeling that same strange calm again. Not relief, exactly. Not closure. Just a weird sort of clarity. Are they still together? Nora snorted. Last I heard, Talia stormed out of the bar and checked into a hotel alone. Damon's been texting me nonstop, but I'm not answering. I nodded. Good. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small velvet box. My mom wanted you to have this. I stared at it. What is it? She had a copy of the original ring made years ago. Not as expensive, but it's close. She said if Damon had done the right thing, this would have been yours anyway. She thinks you deserve something beautiful after everything. I hesitated before taking it. Inside was a delicate ring, nearly identical to the one I remembered. The emeralds were a little lighter, the diamond a little smaller, but it was beautiful. Not because of what it cost, but because someone thought I was worth something real. I looked up at Nora. Tell her thank you, I said. I will. That night, I checked out of the hotel and started the drive back to Roanoke. I didn't listen to music. I didn't cry. I didn't yell or hit the steering wheel. I just drove. My house felt smaller when I got home, like the silence had been waiting for me. I put my suitcase down, kicked off my shoes, and stood in the doorway for a long minute. Then I walked into my bedroom, looked at the dish on my dresser, the one that used to hold the ring, and placed the new one there. Not as a placeholder. The next few days passed in a blur. I went back to work, back to my routines. I focused on my patients, my notes, my schedule. I answered emails, I rescheduled appointments. I restocked the supply closet like it was the most important task in the world. Everyone at the clinic had heard about the engagement incident, of course. Gossip travels fast in small towns, and the fact that it involved not just my fiancé but also my sister, that just made it premium material. But no one brought it up directly. My coworkers were kind, maybe a little too kind. The way they asked, "How are you holding up?" with those soft voices and eyes full of pity made me want to scream some days. But I smiled, said I was fine. Keep moving. I was still living in the eye of the storm, but I didn't let it show. On Wednesday, I was halfway through my lunch when Nadine, one of the medical assistants I worked with, poked her head into the break room. Hey, she said, almost sheepishly. There's someone at the front asking for you. I frowned. A patient. She shook her head. No, it's your sister. My heart dropped into my stomach. She's out front. I asked. Nadine nodded. You want me to send her away? I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say yes. Slam that door shut and bolt it. But curiosity, and maybe a twisted sense of closure, won out. No, it's okay. I'll come talk to her. I walked slowly to the front waiting room. There she was, sitting in one of the blue vinyl chairs, her legs crossed, a pair of oversized sunglasses covering half her face. She looked like she'd walked off a movie set. Designer coat, perfect hair, every inch of her put together. Except for the small twitch in her jaw and the way her hands clutched her purse a little too tightly. Talia, I said flatly. She stood up quickly, eyes scanning the front desk like she was hoping no one was watching. Hey, she said. Can we talk? I crossed my arms. Talk? Now you want to talk. I didn't know where else to go, she whispered. I motioned toward a small consultation room near the side hallway. She followed me inside. I didn't offer her a seat, but she sat anyway. I closed the door behind us and leaned against the cabinet. So, she took off her sunglasses and rubbed her eyes. I'm not here to make excuses. I don't know. I felt like I needed to say something. Face to face. You had your chance at the party. Instead, you mocked me in front of 50 people. Her mouth tightened. I know. That was crafty. I was angry and confused, and honestly, I wasn't thinking straight. No, I said. You were thinking exactly straight. You just didn't care. She winced. I didn't plan for it to happen. Damon and it started out as talking. He'd vent to me about how stressed he was. How disconnected he felt from you. And I don't know, I liked being needed. For once. Don't act like this was some tragic accident, I said. You flirted with him right in front of me. You moved into my house. You smiled while you were screwing him behind my back and wore my ring like it was a trophy. Talia looked up at me, her eyes glassy. I know I crossed every line. I know. But Kelly, I didn't think it would get this far. I didn't think he'd propose. I didn't even want him to, not really. Then why did you say yes? Because I wanted to win, she whispered. There it was. She dropped her gaze to the floor. You've always had everything together. The career, the house, the respect. People look at you and see someone solid. Responsible. And me? I've always been the screw-up. The mess. So you decided to destroy the one relationship I had just to even the score? No. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I wanted to feel like I mattered. And Damon. He made me feel like I did. I stared at her. You didn't come here to apologize. You came here because it all blew up in your face and now you're scared and alone. She said nothing. I sighed. You don't need my forgiveness, Talia. You need to figure out why you keep blowing up your life and dragging everyone down with you. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't flinch. I'm trying, she said quietly. Well, try somewhere else. I have patience to see. I opened the door and waited. She stood slowly, slipped her sunglasses back on, and walked out without another word. That night, I got home late and collapsed onto the couch, exhausted. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I turned on the TV just for background noise. I was halfway through reruns of Chopped when there was a knock at the door. I frowned. It was nearly 9 p.m. I opened the door, and there stood Marla, Damon's mom, holding a small cardboard box. I hope I'm not intruding, she said. I stepped aside and let her in. I wanted to give you this in person, she said, placing the box on my coffee table. I sat across from her. What is it? She opened the lid. Inside was a photo album, some letters, and a small envelope with my name written in elegant handwriting. My mother's ring was pawned, but we tracked it down. I'm buying it back. In the meantime, this was meant for you. My mom kept journals. Notes about the ring, its history, the women who wore it. She wanted you to have it. I stared at the box. I don't know what to say, I murmured. You don't have to say anything, Marla said. Just know that not all of us are like Damon. She stood, buttoned her coat. If you ever need anything, you call me. I nodded, still a little stunned. After she left, I sat with the box for a long time before finally pulling the envelope out. Inside was a letter. Short. Simple. In cursive that had faded a little with time. Callie, this ring carries the weight of many promises, some kept, some broken. But it also carries the strength of the women who wore it before you. My hope is that you wear it when you're ready, not because a man gave it to you, but because you deserve beautiful things. Love. Eleanor Griggs. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back inside the envelope. I didn't cry, but something in me shifted. The next day, my coworker Nadine caught me as I was clocking out. Hey, you got a minute? Sure. She handed me a sealed envelope. Someone dropped this off for you at the front desk. No return name, just said it was from a mutual friend. I frowned. A patient. Don't think so. He was wearing sunglasses indoors. Looked like a spy. I laughed a little. Of course. I opened the envelope after I got in my car. Inside was a folded note. I know I don't deserve a second chance. Hell, I probably don't even deserve to be heard. But I'm still going to ask. Can we talk? Just once? No expectations. I stared at the note for a long time, fingers tight around the paper. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I knew it wouldn't be simple. I stared at Damon's note for a long time, my thumb grazing the corner where the paper had started to fray. A younger version of me might have crumpled it, thrown it out the window, or lit it on fire in some cinematic act of closure. But I wasn't that woman anymore. Instead, I folded it neatly and slid it back into the envelope. Not because I had forgiven him, but because I was going to give him exactly what he wanted, a talk. Just not the kind he was expecting. We met 2 days later at a cafe near the park, the kind of place with overpriced pastries and uncomfortable wooden chairs. He was already there when I arrived, sitting near the back, nursing a black coffee like it might somehow cleanse his sins. When he saw me, he stood, too quickly, too rehearsed. "Callie," he said like he'd just seen an old friend. "Thanks for coming." I sat down slowly. "Let's get this over with." He winced. "Fair." I waited. Let him sweat. After a few moments of silence, he leaned forward. "I know you don't owe me anything, but I needed to say it in person. I was selfish. I made a mess of everything. And I'm sorry." "Why now?" I asked. He hesitated. "Because it finally hit me what I lost." I raised an eyebrow. "Me?" He nodded. "No," I said. "You didn't lose me. You lost the version of me that tolerate your bullcrap. The version that made excuses for your long hours, your secretive behavior, the way you made me feel like I was always second place. That woman's gone." His jaw tightened, just slightly. "You and Talia deserve each other," I said. "You both lie without flinching and pretend it's love." "She left," he blurted. I smirked. "Shocking." "She said I used her. That I made her look like a fool." "She's right." He sat back, like the wind had been knocked out of him. "I'm not here to take you back," I said. "I'm here to tell you that you don't get to rewrite the story. You don't get to walk around town looking for redemption while I carry the weight of your choices." He swallowed hard. "What do you want me to do?" I smiled, sweet and sharp. "Funny you should ask." The idea had started to form the night I read Eleanor Griggs's letter. The ring may have been a symbol of promises, but it was also a symbol of legacy, family. And if Damon could throw that legacy away for a few bucks and an affair, then I could take what was left and turn it into something better. And that's exactly what I did. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked with Marla and Nora to create a fundraiser in Eleanor's name, the Griggs Foundation for Women's Wellness. It would help fund preventive care, screenings, and mental health resources for underserved women in Southwest Virginia. Something real. Something lasting. And the kicker? We made Damon the honorary face of it. With his reluctant permission, wrapped in guilt and reputation rehab, we used old photos from our engagement, pictures where he looked warm and trustworthy, plastered across flyers and local press releases. Marla pulled every string she had. Nora contacted friends at the local paper. We made sure everyone in town saw Damon Griggs, champion of women's health. He didn't fight it. Not because he wanted to help, but because he wanted to look like he was helping. And I made sure it stayed that way. I gave interviews. Told our story. Sanitized just enough to protect myself legally, but juicy enough to keep people interested. When my engagement ended, I said in one article, I wanted to channel that pain into something bigger than me. And people loved it. The foundation gained traction fast. Donations rolled in. Local businesses offered sponsorships. Damon's name was everywhere, but never as the hero, always as the cautionary tale. He showed up at the first event, looking tired, eyes puffy. He gave a speech I wrote for him. He stood beside me for photos, smiled like his dignity wasn't being pawned inch by inch. And afterward, as we packed up folding chairs, he turned to me. "I feel like I'm being punished." I turned to him, smiled wide. "This isn't punishment, Damon. This is redemption. Isn't that what you wanted?" He didn't answer. As for Talia, she stayed quiet for a while. She'd moved back to Richmond, tail tucked between her legs. But not before I mailed her something. No note. Just the velvet ring box. Inside was the ring she stole, my ring. The cheap, placeholder version he gave me. The one that was never real to begin with. Except I'd had it cleaned and placed inside a clear resin paperweight, sealed and unwearable. A symbol. A reminder. A message. Some things can never be undone. I never heard from her after that. 3 months later, I was on the porch of my bungalow, sipping iced tea and watching the sunset when Nora called. "You'll never guess what just came in," she said. "The real ring." "Yup. And it's yours." I blinked. "You bought it back?" "Paid off Damon's pawn debt behind his back. My mom signed the release. It's back in the family." "I don't need it," I said. "I know," she replied. "But maybe you deserve to decide what happens to it." She brought it to me the next day. It was even more beautiful than I remembered. Delicate. Worn in the best way. I didn't put it on. I placed it back into its box and slid it into the back of my drawer, behind old letters and postcards, not as a symbol of love lost, but of strength gained. Because the best revenge wasn't fire and fury. It was rebuilding without them. It was thriving, while they withered under the weight of their choices. It was walking back into my own life like I never needed saving in the first place. And finally, knowing I was free,